So it's that time where we're looking forward to the next season, season number 6, and this time I want to go over 10 of my biggest hopes for what I want to see in the next one. Are these going to happen? Probably not, but I can hope. First up, what stages do I want back? Since we got 2 brand new stages, I think it'd be interesting to see 2 returning ones, one from Splatoon 1 and one from Splatoon 2. Both of these could fit the same theme, being the first stage to appear in either of these games. This would be Urchin Underpass in Splatoon 1 and the Reef for Splatoon 2. Reef is one of, if not the best stages ever put in the game, not just my opinion, won a popular map poll I did a while back. And Urchin Underpass being in Mario Kart is perhaps the most iconic Splatoon stage, and hasn't been brought to the Switch yet. Urchin wouldn't need too many changes, and I think is a cool and unique base layout, and I think both of these would make excellent additions in Splatoon 3, especially given how they're not butchering the maps anymore, hopefully. The big selling point of the previous 2 seasons has been the 2 brand new main weapons they've added to each class. However, with Season 7 being Splatoon 2 themed from what we can tell internally, I'm willing to bet the Brella and Dooley are going to happen there, which means what are we going to get this season? I think it would be cool if they did a new sub and a new special. My idea for the sub is a single player thing that hasn't been used for a while, a squeegee. This could be easily reworked into a weaker bomb by having it absorb enemy ink for a few seconds and then blow up, and it could stick to walls or the floor pretty easily, as well as be the only way in the game to remove ink completely. This could probably be one of the more cheaper but less powerful bombs with additional utility and a cheap ink cost to work well on many weapons. For the special, I'm going to go back to an old concept I had before Splatoon 3 came out, where I asked on Twitter what specials people would want to see, and my favorite submitted idea was a splat board, which I eventually fleshed out into a full concept. Basically, the idea of this is, you know ink brush mobility, how it can go through enemy ink unscathed and be super fast? Yeah, what if you could do that, but also had your main weapon? Kind of like Zipcaster in the way that you still have access to all your options just with this crazy new mobility. This would be more ground-based, but I think it could be crazy to give things that crazy strafe speed while being able to shoot. And you could also potentially have the splat board able to do some kind of attack, like maybe you could ram into people for high damage, or the turn could do a burst of ink. I also like the idea of it being a shield when it's done. We don't really have a special that has some kind of lasting impact once its main utility is over, so it kind of flipping over and acting as a mini shield for a little bit when the special ends could be unique. I could see many weapons where this sub and special could work, and when we get to the kits, I'll be talking about some of them, giving 3 of them the sub and special each. Before we get to those though, let's talk about 3 new challenge ideas, because we've seen a few of them. One candidate for the infinite specials that I would like to see more of is Infinite Ultra Stamp. I think this would just be a very silly infinite specials one and just be kind of hilarious with a bunch of stamps going on. I kind of just need to see how this works. Another idea I have for number 2 would be a boost panels gimmick. Basically, add a bunch of these speedy boost panels from single player onto a multiplayer stage, or 2 of them perhaps. This could not only work like high jump by allowing the stages to be much more open, but also add a unique gimmick. In fact, you could probably do this with a lot of the other single player ideas like the cannons or the ride rails, but I think the boost pads are probably one of the best ones to implement. Finally, one idea I think would be really cool to see would be a 5v5 challenge. This might never happen, but what if you increase the amount of slots on a team just for this gimmick? See how 5v5 Splatoon could look. We've never really increased the amount of players on a team before, and this would be a perfect place to try it out. Alright, those ideas aside though, let's talk about the 10 new kits. I'm gonna keep the expectations low and do only 10 weapon kits, and like I mentioned before, it'll have 3 of the new sub and 3 of the new special. First up is the 52 Gal Deco. We can give this one our brand new squeegee, functioning as a weird sort of bomb that it could use to hopefully clear space and find opponents, and Reef Slider. None of the shooters have had this before, they can technically combo with it, and it would be actually kind of fun if the special was balanced properly. For rollers, I think the Flingza roller could use a different kit. We'll once again go with the squeegee for similar purposes, but give it the more flexible sub of the Booyah Bomb. This could be useful if you're being more aggressive to keep you alive, while still functioning as an entry tool for your team, being more flexible than the current Flingza kit. For chargers, the Bamboo players have been waiting for long enough, and I think they deserve a really different kit with how basic the vanilla one is. Squid Beacon would be a unique sub for it that gives it a bit of team utility, and with its ink efficiency buffed back to normal a few patches ago, I think it wouldn't have a hard time using this, while Crab Tank would be an equally flexible special to complement the main weapon, helping if you want to be more aggressive, get your team in, or really do whatever you can. I think Bamboo is a very flexible main weapon, and having a flexible special would add on to the playstyle. For the Dreadringer, it'll be our 3rd squeegee weapon, but the first one to get the splat board. This is a great chance to show off where I think this splat board could really thrive. Dread is a super slow and laggy weapon. Suddenly having this thing skating across the map throwing sloshes at you and getting rid of one of its main weaknesses would make it insanely threatening, especially with the 2 sloshes to guarantee damage. And if the splat board is able to do some amounts of damage itself itself, it could probably combo with it pretty well, similar to how Zipcaster does with Stamper. For the Hydra Spotling, I wanted to reference its Splatoon 1 kit of Sprinkler and Bubbler. Unlike that game, I think Big Bubbler would work way better for it. Hydra's main problem is getting specials or chargers just knocking it out of position. Bubble lasts such a long time that you could get multiple charges off with it if you're uncontested, forcing people to shut it down. It would definitely be a very selfish special that I would use mostly for itself, but I think it would make it incredibly good at holding areas, as well as be especially threatening on tower control. Sprinkler would still complement it by giving it a movement option, as well as additional paint, which is nice to get more of this said special. For the Paintbrush Deluxe, I think Fizzy Bomb could be a great way to add on to its movement similar to how Curling does, but also give it some unique combo and poking potential, while the Splatboard will once again speed up what's normally a very slow weapon, giving you the chance to be the lightweight and heavyweight brush at the same time. The S-Blast 93 could have some very interesting combos with Torpedo with either of its firing modes, as well as a nice movement tool, while the Crab Tank keeps the flexibility of the main weapon in mind. Yeah, the same logic for Bamboo, because it works here too. The End Parry Splat Dually is our Splatoon 2 reference kit, and I mean, come on, this is just too perfect. Inkjet would be great for it can roll on its recall. I mean, anyone who's played Splatoon 2, this is one of the most popular kits in that game. I think it's an easy ass to have it back. The Sorella Undercover Brella will be referencing the Kensa kit from that game though. I mean, all of the other Brellas have gotten their God kit. It's time for Undercover to get its turn. Torpedo is amazing for helping it fight, gives it another thing to shoot down, and can be rolled for a reliable damage combo. Meanwhile, Cooler allows it to play to the role it needs, and it would be a unique Cooler option since nothing has Torpedo, and its shield gives it ability to stay alive. Finally is the Gold Splatana Stamper. Another Fizzy Bomb weapon, as I think it plays into the flexibility, and it would have a lot of different combo and movement options with it that I think would work rather well. And for the special, we can go with the Splatboard. I think the horizontal slashes in particular could be really annoying when paired with that high mobility, and it would be able to combo off it like Zipcaster does. I was too hopeful with the kits, I know, but something else I want to be hopeful about is Salmon Run. I want to see Salmon get a little bit more in this update, and here's some of my ideas. First off, I already talked about this last time, but Arc Polaris should return. Unique gimmick with the ride rails, super cool location that has more of an impact with the single player mode, and it was just fun. Egg Throw would improve the stage a ton. However, speaking of stages, now that that stage would add a few of them, can we get a second Salmon Run rotation? I mean, seriously, there are some times where I log on, I see Marooner's Bay, and I just don't want to play Salmon Run until the next one is up. Having different options would drastically increase how much people would play the game, in my opinion. Another thing I really want to do is go for high EVP, basically going for 9s. That's a really cool objective that even gives you a little sticker, but going for it takes forever. Like 7 hours if you do really well. On top of that, I think the highest difficulty is getting a little easy at some point, and it would be nice if you could start higher up. I think that if you go 100 past the EVP, you should stay there by default, capping at 500, so it's still a bit of a grind to 999. So for example, if you're 300 at EVP and you gain 200 points, you would start at 500 next time. Of course, if you lost EVP and ended at like 480, you would reset to 400. I just think that would be a cool way to keep things going. Finally, I want another Grisco weapon. We should eventually have one for every class, and I think the Grisco brush could be a cool one to add. I'd want to see a brush that rolls really fast while having a wide paint trail like a roller. No idea what they could do for the swinging since I don't think you could get faster than Ink Brush. Range would be the obvious one I could see though. None of the brushes, even the Paintbrush, have that much range, so being able to have a brush that's fast and be like mid-range could be pretty crazy. The only other idea I could think of is maybe having the rolling be invincible for a little bit so you could like roll through bosses at some point, but that might be a little too broken, even for a Grisco weapon. Finally, two other small things I want to see. Firstly, I'd love to see if the jukebox songs you select could be used for multiplayer. Say I play a Splatoon 1 multiplayer song like Hooked. The next battle I play could have that song for that match. That would be a great way to use the Splatoon 1 and 2 music that's great for battles and currently is really unused for them, without putting it in the default queue since they clearly want to focus on the new song. Finally, is a mode most people probably forgot by now, tableturf. Why doesn't this thing have a way to online queue against other people? I know the player base might be a little small for this mode. I feel like the option should at least be there. Even if you have to wait a while, it's better than only being able to do it when you're with other people. My hopes for this are still pretty high, but hey, it's a concept video, and hopefully they're a bit more in check than my last one. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all next time.